As a matter of fact, you should be looking for a lawyer the day you decide you want to be in the music business. Because whether you're about to sign a contract today or not, you will eventually need someone to protect your interest. Which means your number one mission should be to find yourself a good music attorney right now, today. Because by the time you need one, you're already too late.
There's someone you should know.
Hey everybody, welcome to the BOMB Podcast. BOMB stands for Business of Music Bootcamp, which means that this is the place where we will drill down on the business and legal aspects of the music industry. Everything from copyrights and contracts to policies and practices. Whatever it takes to educate and empower you with the knowledge you need to make informed decisions about how to protect yourself and your music is what you'll find on the BOMB. I'm your host, Professor Butler, and as a retired entertainment attorney, former record label executive, music law professor, and college administrator, I have counseled thousands of artists and musicians on the intricacies of the music business. Now it's your turn.
The information in this podcast is not intended, nor should it be construed as legal advice. If you have questions of a legal nature, we strongly recommend that you contact an attorney in your local jurisdiction who specializes in music and/or entertainment law. For guidance, check out our website at professorbutler.com and sign up to receive a free resource on how to find the right lawyer for you. And now, your host of the BOMB Podcast, Professor Butler.
Hey everybody, welcome to the BOMB Podcast, episode number 6. I'm your host, Professor Butler, and in this week's episode, in honor of Billboard releasing its 2020 list of top music lawyers, which is a great read, by the way, and I'll put the link in the description, we will talk about the all-important music and/or entertainment attorney, why you need one, how you should go about finding one, in particular when you cannot afford one. By the way, although this is not a two-parter, you might want to check out last week's episode on the Migos dispute because I talk a lot about what lawyers do, what they're obligated to do, and why. I review the definition of legal advice versus legal information, fiduciary duties, and conflicts of interest. I also go over the 4 things that a lawyer must do for every client at all times. And don't worry, if you missed it, I'll do a recap here wherever it's applicable to make sure that you are up to speed. In the meantime, I have a lot to cover. So let's jump right into this week's topic with a letter I received from a musician that goes a little something like this. Dear Professor Butler, I am a recording artist who, after releasing several EPs independently over the last few years, is beginning to attract a lot of attention. I'm starting to get direct messages from producers, managers, even indie record labels. One of those labels even offered me a contract. Now, after listening to you talk about legal advice on your podcast, good man, I know I should hire a lawyer, but I really can't afford one. So my Uncle Frank, who is a lawyer that helps people who have been in car accidents and stuff, has agreed to help me out. His question is this: is it okay if my Uncle Frank acts as my attorney? Aren't all lawyers pretty much the same? Sincerely, Uncle Frank's nephew. All right, there's a lot going on here, so let's break it down. First, we'll take the second part of the question, which is, aren't all lawyers pretty much the same? Then we'll talk about Uncle Frank. Then we'll address the real issue here, which is money. Nephew wants to know if all lawyers are the same. Well, the quick and dirty answer to that question is hell no. Fortunately, we're not here to do quick and dirty. We're here to learn and to do things right. So let's dig into a little background on how a lawyer becomes a lawyer in the first place and some of the questions you should be asking when looking to hire one. Lawyers in the United States have to attend some sort of accredited law school, which means every lawyer starts off as a law student, and most law students, no matter where they go to law school, study the same general education legal topics. These topics include subjects such as criminal law, constitutional law, real property law, and contracts. There are some subjects that they study the first year, some they study generally the second year. By the end of the second year, they're done. If they survive the first year, which ain't easy to do, then they can start taking elective courses in subject areas that they have an interest in. For example, when I was in law school, long time ago, all of my elective courses were in copyright law, music law, and entertainment law. And that's because I knew going in that the only kind of law I wanted to practice was entertainment law. As a matter of fact, I have business cards printed up and I distributed them on the first day of class that read future entertainment attorney and my graduation date. And anybody that knows me and still has one of those cards, let me know because I can't find it. I knew I wanted to be in the entertainment business from an early age, especially after living and growing up in LA and Hollywood. So going to law school and learning about the entertainment business was for me like a dream come true. So you go to law school, and once you graduate, you have to take a 2 or 3 day test, depending on the state, called a bar exam. The bar exam tests on the broad sets of topics that you learn in the first 2 years, as well as some state-specific topics, depending on the state where you take the test. If you pass the bar exam, then you'll be licensed and permitted to practice law in that state. Now, I'm not going to lie, that damn bar exam is hard as hell. Many lawyers have to take it more than once just to pass it, but you don't really care about that. All you care is that they took it and that they passed it. And for the attorney, all they have to do is take continuing legal education classes or CLEs every year in order to maintain their license. And of course, only licensed attorneys who have taken and passed the bar can practice law. So, practicing law, what is that exactly? It's basically just giving legal advice in regards to a specific situation or set of circumstances. And as I talked about in last week's episode, there is a big difference between giving legal advice and providing legal information. It's basically the difference between telling somebody what to do versus telling them how to do it. Now, just about anybody can tell you how to do something, but when it comes to telling you what to do in your specific situation regarding something that could affect your legal rights and responsibilities, only licensed practitioners can do that. So, the first question that you're going to ask is to make sure that the lawyer that you're working with is licensed or authorized to practice law in your jurisdiction or the state in which you reside. And you do not have to walk up to them and ask to see their license or anything like that. Just ask them, are you licensed to practice in this state? And they'll tell you. Now, that's not something a lawyer would generally lie about because they can get into big trouble if they do. But since you need to do a little research on them anyway, right, you should look them up using your state bar association's website. A state bar association is an organization that represents attorneys who practice law in that state. There's an American Bar Association, which represents lawyers nationally, but every state has their own state bar. And the Bar Association's website will give you all sorts of information about how long the lawyer has been in practice and whether or not they're in good standing, meaning whether or not they've been in any trouble or not. Some Bar Association websites even provide profile pages for the lawyers and referral services, which we'll discuss in a little bit. And although the legal education and the law license part are basically the same for all lawyers and law students across the United States, once they graduate, each lawyer then has to decide in what area of law they're going to practice. General practitioners can practice law in several areas, such as criminal law or bankruptcy or business or insurance. And generally, they do them all at the same time. Many new lawyers start off with a general practice until they find out what area they'd like to specialize in. However, lawyers are not required to choose a specialty, which is why many of them are general practitioners. Other lawyers, however, do choose a specialty, which I did, for example, was entertainment law. However, there is no no test or certification or anything like that for entertainment or music lawyers. So, what type of lawyer should you choose? Do you choose a general practitioner who practices a whole bunch of types of law all at the same time? Or do you choose someone who specializes in music or entertainment? This is a no-brainer because if you had your choice, the ideal situation would be to choose the specialist. Music law, just like every other area of the law, is very nuanced. Unless your lawyer has the opportunity to review music contracts on a daily basis, she or he might easily overlook relevant language or miss key points that may lead to a negative outcome for you. And if they don't see or participate in music-related negotiations on a regular basis, they may not know what to look for or even what to ask for. So someone who specializes in the practice area of either music or entertainment law is your best bet. Just know that lawyers who specialize, however, are generally more sought after and are also therefore more expensive, which means you may have to be a little flexible with your choice of attorneys. Ideally, you want the specialist, right? The person who specializes in music and entertainment, and that's all they do. If you can't find a specialist, or more likely can't afford a specialist, keep in mind that there are plenty of general practitioners who include music law as one of their practice areas. So they may do bankruptcy, they may do divorce, they may do insurance, and they may also do music. This is a fantastic option, especially if the general practitioner has been working with musicians for a long time. Which brings me to the next question you should be asking, which is, how much experience do you have in music law? Or how many music clients do you have? Or how many music clients have you worked with? Or what kind of music cases have you represented? That way, whether they have a general practice or not, what do you care? All you want to know is the extent of their experience in the music industry working with music clients. That's the only thing you should care about. So what's going on with our nephew and his Uncle Frank? Well, according to nephew, Uncle Frank helps people who have had car accidents and stuff. Nephew is making Uncle Frank sound like an ambulance chaser. Now, an ambulance chaser, which is a derogatory term that you should not use when referring to a lawyer, but it comes from the stereotype of lawyers that follow ambulances to the emergency room to find clients who have been in accidents. In actuality, Uncle Frank probably is not an ambulance chaser. He is what we call a personal injury lawyer. A personal injury lawyer is an attorney who provides legal services to people who claim that they've been injured as a result of the negligence of another person. It includes things like slip and falls and malpractice and defective products and getting injured on the job, stuff like that. Now, there's nothing wrong with Uncle Frank practicing personal injury law, but if that's his specialty, then Uncle Frank probably knows absolutely nothing about music. But let's give Uncle Frank a little credit, right? Let's say he has a general practice. He's a general practitioner, and only part of his practice includes personal injury. If he's practicing in more than one area of law, does that now make him a better candidate to take on your case? And the answer is, well, it depends. If one of those areas of law is music, and he's been doing it for a while, I'd say yes. If he has never worked with musicians or other music clients, I say no. And this does not mean that Uncle Frank is not a good attorney. Please don't go home to your family or to your relatives who practice law and say that I said they weren't good attorneys because they weren't specialists. To the contrary, you have to be pretty sharp in order to work in multiple areas of the law all at the same time. However, unless one of those areas of law is music, Uncle Frank will probably not be the most effective advocate for you. Now, let's be clear. There is no one lawyer, specialty or not, on the planet that knows everything or has the answer to every question. Whatever they don't know, they either have to research it, look it up, or consult with an expert or another more experienced attorney who does know more. So whoever you hire, They have a responsibility to seek the assistance or advice from other lawyers or experts in the field when it comes to serving the best interest of their clients, which means that it's still possible for you to hire a general practitioner without a lot of music experience. It's still possible to hire a new lawyer, a young lawyer, a real green lawyer, right? Somebody who's really eager, who doesn't have a lot of experience in music, because they still have to seek assistance from someone more senior before they can either take your case or adequately represent you. Either way, the next question you should be asking yourself is, when should you start looking for an attorney? Is it early in your career? Is it once you have a contract or something for them to negotiate? Is it after you started making money? Well, the answer to this one is simple. The best time to look for an attorney is before you need an attorney. I'll say that again. The best time to look for a lawyer is before you need a lawyer. As a matter of fact, you should be looking for a lawyer the day you decide you want to be in the music business. Because whether you are about to sign a contract today or not, you will eventually need someone to protect your interest. Your number one mission from day one should be to find yourself a good music attorney right now, today, because by the time you need one, you're already too late. By the time you need one, you either won't have time or won't take the time to do your homework, which means you'll end up taking whoever you can get, and that is not good. So don't wait. That does not mean, however, that you have to go hire them right away, but you do need to at least meet different lawyers, do some preliminary interviews, set up a few free consultations, find out about the fees they charge, the services they provide, all of that stuff long before you get into a situation where you need them, so that when you do finally get a contract, you'll know where to go and you'll have a good indication of how much it will cost so that you can start saving your money now. And money is the key. Nephew, in our example, knows he needs a lawyer, which is a good thing. But he doesn't already have a music lawyer waiting in the wings when he started releasing his music and capturing all this attention, and that's not such a good thing. Nephew's real problem, however, is that he doesn't have any money. He can't afford, according to him, to hire any kind of lawyer, whether it's a general practitioner, whether it's a specialist, whether they're new, whether they're old. He can't afford anybody. And this is where I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant, so hold on to your horses. It frustrates me to no end when musicians spend all their time working on their music, but don't spend any time working on their business. Now that's bad enough, and I'll be talking a lot about that. But to spend all your money on clothes, shoes, jewelry, or even in the studio and not think about how you're going to A, market your music, which is one of the most common mistakes musicians make, let alone B, have enough money to hire someone to protect your music, to me is just inexcusable. Come on, people. The world we live in, you and me, right? We call it the music business. And if you're going to be in the music business, you need to not only be prepared, you need to do what I refer to as anticipate success. What is anticipate success? Well, if you put your music out there and you don't expect anybody to hear it, like it, or buy it, then I'm not talking to you. But if you're expecting people to notice you, you're expecting people to listen to you, you're expecting people to like your music, stream you, buy you, and the biggest one of all, invest in you long term, then you need to anticipate that all of those things will happen and choose to invest in yourself first. There is more than just business we're talking about. This is your state of mind. If you want people to pony up some money to listen to your music, buy your merch, come to your show, subscribe to your Patreon, or otherwise spend their hard-earned money on you, you need to spend your hard-earned money on you too. And not just on cars and bling bling and studio time either. Legal protection costs money. You're going to need money to register your trademarks to protect your name. You're going to need money to register your copyrights to protect your music. And you're going to need money to hire a lawyer to review and negotiate your contracts, give you legal advice, and protect your interest. And where do you start looking for this attorney when you don't have any money? Good question. How about you first start in your own backyard? If you know of any lawyers in any practice area, I don't care if it's criminal, if it's child support, whatever, or if you have a lawyer in the family like nephew, instead of trying to get free services out of Uncle Frank, how about you just ask Uncle Frank if he knows any music lawyers? If Uncle Frank has been around for a while, he, like most lawyers, probably belongs to various legal groups, such as their local, state, or national bar association, which is full of lawyers from every practice area imaginable. Second, if you don't happen to know a lawyer or have a family member who you can point to, right? How about you use your network of musician friends? Now, herein lies a whole nother problem. There are far too many of you out there who don't know anybody. You either don't know how to network or you do know how to network and you just refuse to do it. We can talk about networking another time, which actually we will. But this is definitely one of those times where networking comes in handy. You got to know somebody who either has a music lawyer or has worked with a music lawyer in the past so that you can ask them. And look, nobody is telling you to call or text everybody in your phone book either. Hell, you use Instagram for everything else. Why not ask your network for a referral? You still have to do your due diligence, which means you still got to do your homework, still got to schedule a consultation, ask questions, set up an interview, but at least you'll have a place to start. And third, what if you don't know anybody that knows a lawyer, family, friend, network, or otherwise? There are dozens of free resources on the internet where you can connect with an attorney in your local jurisdiction. And if I were you, I wouldn't use any of them. Why? Because you'll be working with strangers. And what did I tell you about working with strangers in episode number 1? I don't like cold calling, cold emailing, or otherwise reaching out to people that you do not already have a relationship with, or that you haven't met through a referral. I'd much rather you contact someone through either a person you can trust or an organization you can trust, like your local bar association. There are other organizations that I believe that are very trustworthy. There's a group of organizations that have a trustworthy mission, is what I like to call it. And they're called Volunteer Lawyers for the Arts, or VLA for short. Volunteer Lawyers for the Arts provide legal services, advice, and educational programming to individual artists, to musical groups, and to cultural organizations. The VLA works with hundreds of attorneys who volunteer their time and services to provide legal counsel, education, and organizational support to the arts community in which music is included. And what I like and support about VLAs is this. Number 1, there's a VLA in almost every major city. Number 2, they provide free, low-cost consultations. And number 3, they provide referrals to attorneys in the practice area you need. And although they try to refer every case, they cannot guarantee that they'll find you a lawyer, especially one that'll take your case. So it really depends on the nature of your issue, which is why you're not going to wait until the last minute to find a lawyer, because finding the right lawyer is a process. So if you need more information on that, I'm going to attach a link in the show notes from the New York chapter of the VLA that provides a list of all of the VLAs nationwide. And finally, what if you can't find a volunteer lawyer? How about a volunteer almost lawyer? Well, that's where you'd go to something called a legal clinic, also known as a law clinic or a law school clinic. And it's usually legal aid or a law school program that provides various legal services to clients while also giving hands-on legal experience to law school students. So the students will be the ones to represent you. However, they're always supervised by what we call clinical professors. Legal clinics typically do free or pro bono work in a particular area or several areas, providing free legal services to their clients. And one such legal clinic located here in Boston is the Recording Artists Project at Harvard Law School, also known as Harvard Rap. Now, I have to do a disclaimer because Harvard Rap is not only local. I know them. I've worked with them. I've had several music business management students at Berkeley work with them. So I'm definitely biased when it comes to this recommendation, but I got to tell the truth. I love me some Harvard Rap. The Recording Artists Project is a student practice organization at Harvard Law School, providing pro bono legal assistance on music business matters that relate to artists, musicians, record labels, nightclubs, new media companies, you name it. It has even been mentioned in the Hollywood Reporter article, America's Top 10 Entertainment Law Schools. Harvard Rap specializes in contract review, contract negotiation, copyright matters, and other transactional work. Transactional means, desk work. They don't go to court for you. In addition to serving Boston's music community through client representation, Rap every year invites a select group of students from my school, Berklee College of Music, to offer their insights about the music business to Harvard student practitioners and to learn in turn about lawyering in the industry. So if you're a musician, a producer, a songwriter, a record label, or other music business professional, and you believe that Harvard Rap or any legal clinic can help you, be sure to do your homework, contact them through their website. I've posted the link to Harvard Rap in the description. I've also posted a great article from AWAL on building your dream team, also known as the music lawyer. Whew. Okay, so what did we learn this week? First of all lawyers are not the same. They have different practice areas. And what you want ideally is to work with someone who either specializes in music or entertainment law or a general practitioner who has experience in music or entertainment law. The other thing we learned is the best time to hire a lawyer is long before you need one. We also learned that if you don't have any money, if you start saving up now and start looking for lawyers now, you'll be able to afford one when the time comes. And finally, if you really don't have any money and you need somebody now, you want to look into services like volunteer lawyers for the arts or legal clinics in your local law schools like Harvard Law's Recording Artists Project. All right. Thank you so much for your attention this week. I know that was a long one. This concludes another episode of the Bomb Podcast. I am going to see you next week. Thanks for joining me on the Bomb Podcast. If you were educated, empowered, or inspired by what you heard, please subscribe today to be the first to receive the latest episode. And don't forget, post a review, tell a friend, follow me on social media, and join my tribe at ProfessorButler.com.